Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AM Impact on Your Health. AM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AM Impact on Your Health is heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and of course, where we do encourage you to call in to join in today. Well, it's that time of the month where the Freedom of Choice in Cancer Therapy Group will gather this Thursday up at Riverside Landings in Oakmont, 7 o'clock. And in keeping with our pledge to Sylvia, we'd like to bring the guest speaker to our airways today. She's going to be with us this morning. She is the founder of a group called BeatCancer.org. What a fitting guest to present to the Freedom of Cancer and Choice in Therapy Group. And so we'll be spending this morning with Susan Silberstein in anticipation of what she might offer you should you make the trip up to the Oakmont area on Thursday night. So hope you enjoy Susan. And if you have a question or comment you want to make throughout our conversation with her today, you know to call us up at 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. I'll give that number additionally throughout the hour. Now let's see how the month is shaping up. I'm going to try it. I thought after having a conversation with him on last Thursday, I don't remember inking him for this spot, but I'm pretty sure I can get him. It's that time, folks. If you're of Medicare age, October 15th, that's why I'm trying to get him here on Wednesday, because it is October 15th, is the beginning of the enrollment period for 2014. It will end sometime at the beginning of September. Each and every year, those who have Medicare age and Medicaid have the opportunity to switch carriers at this point. And all sorts of people out there trying to get your business. There's a gentleman who considers himself what he calls a Medicare, I like this, Medicare concierge, I even like to say that word, concierge, where he will help you determine what the best program and company is for you and not charge you a dime in the process. Each and every year we bring him on board. He should be here on Wednesday. I just can't say 100%, but I'm pretty sure that I'll have him here. And I want him here for the launch of the 2014 open enrollment period. Mark Cohen will be our guest on Wednesday. Then on next Monday, 1 week away now, we start a new approach to the treatment of disease. I think it's one that will bear great fruit. And the person to bring in that message is just about the most knowledgeable gal this country has when it comes to microcurrent therapy. It's called FSM. That's frequency specific microcurrent. You'll learn all about it in the up and coming days and months. Shannon Gosen will be our guest on Monday. You don't want to miss it. And as the month tippy-toes along, of course, I'm involved with a LDA conference. It is the biennial, every 2 years. All the disciples of the great Dr. William Butch Schrader will meet, this time in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We'll be discussing autologous antigens. It's a big word. It means antigens that you've generated from you and a serum from you to combat them. Describing that on my return. Anyway, the LDA conferences, I'm just mentioning it, and pretty much the way the month is shaping up. Of course, ozone therapy, I want to mention, we have those discs we got put together on the famous Dr. Frank Schallenberger shows. You know, we did them one in January, February, and then another one in April, and they're platinum shows, and we finally put them on disc for those of you who'd like to have them. Give us a call if you think you'd like to get a set. They're only $5 a piece. There's 2 of them. One's all the 3 shows with Frank, and another one I did on myself that is a reproduction of an article Frank wrote, The 13 Reasons to Do Ozone Therapy. Those of you who heard the shows initially, I know they're the most frequently asked for shows we've ever done here. So you can get them for free at the website by just going to djcmd.com, click on the icon mark Archives, and in the search engine of YouTube, which comes up next, just type in Courtney / Schallenberger ozone, and the three shows come up automatically. So if that works for you, that's great. Others say they don't have a computer, they don't want to go on the computer, they just like to have the discs. You can get them here. I hope to have a generous supply with me on Thursday night when I'm out there seeing you all out there at the Freedom of Choice in Cancer Therapy Group. Now, Beresha, and we'll close it off here in just a moment. Beresha is having a whirlwind summer and fall in terms of the interest that it's generating. This company carries a line of products, go-to drinks, a coffee, a tea, a lemonade, and a sweetener. All four of those products do these four things. Number one, they are thermogenic. You consume them, you burn fat, you don't even have to move. Stand still, and it happens. The next thing is they are satiety quenching, meaning if you eat meals after consuming them, you eat less than what you would have had you not consumed them at all. Third, and I think is a standard for most everyone who brings an entrance into the low-carb diet realm, and that is they're very low glycemic. That's a given. But then this fourth one, the one that I've never heard anybody talk about, is the fact that it blunts the cephalic response. Sweet things that hit your tongue cause a gush of hormones you don't want to have gushed, that prepare as though you were eating a plate of spaghetti for that fat meal coming behind it. These products blunt the cephalic response. So say the scientists, and they wouldn't say it if it wasn't so. Anyway, here are the tastings for this week. There's one tonight, folks. If you're in the South Hills, especially in Upper St. Clair, at the Upper St. Clair Library, Faith is going to be there at 6:30 talking about understanding gluten-free. We're offering you the ability to test and taste all of the Beresha products. Then on Wednesday, the big one, and it should be Lori Lankowitz that holds the big one out there at her new facility at 601 Pittsburgh Road. She's just south of Butler now on Route 8, and the Balance to Wellness is the name of her company. At 6:30, they're going to have big guests. The president and CEO of Beresha is going to be there. Now, I don't think he's ever been in Pennsylvania before, but he's taken the time to visit up there. If you want to meet him, he's been on our show. I've been on his show. It's about time he shows up to your show. He'll be there at 6:30 at 601 Pittsburgh Road. That's Balance to Wellness. All the Beresha products will be available to be tasted for tastings. And then Joe Giuliano, who's one of the upline guys, will describe Beresha from his viewpoint. And George Najjar, who is the president and CEO of the company, will absolutely take to the airways. I won't want to miss that. I'd really an opportunity to meet him. I haven't never met him face to face. Met him many times on the telephone with the voices, but not face to face. Hopefully, see you there. Next tasting after that on the 19th, going to be held up at the up in Newcastle. Jameson Hospital is the hospital of the Newcastle area, and they have an annual event called Paint the Town Pink. It's a fashion show, folks. It's going to be held at the New Englander Banquet Center just beyond the hospital going north on 18. I'll give you more information. 1 to 4 o'clock on Sunday, the 19th of October. That's a Beresha tasting. And then our good friend Dan Wagner is holding his annual event, the 2-day women's event, at his pharmacy, Nutri-Pharmacy, out there in the North Hills area, 2506 Wildwood Road. It's a 2-day event. It'll be on the 31st of October and the 1st of November. So back-to-backs right there out there in the North Hills is getting very highly represented. It's a place where you can go for all these tastings. If you like this product, they'll show you how to get a hold of them. One place you'll never find them is in a store. They won't be sold in a store. You'll have to get them in another way. But if you have a go-to drink that does these fantastic things, and besides all that, actually tastes good, I think you may have stumbled across a new way to approach your own particular healthcare needs for your own family. We'll let it go at that. All right, folks. Let's take a short break. In the interim, we're going to connect ourselves with the guest for the Freedom of Choice in Cancer Therapy Group this Thursday. She's got a fantastic pedigree, folks. She's been on a crusade, a saga for a number of years. She'll explain what that saga and journey has been and entice you, I'm sure, to visit with her on Thursday night. Her name is Susan Silberstein. She'll be with us in a moment. Be right back in a moment with Susan.
You become confused about how...
All right, we got her. Give me a few seconds.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health. Heard here on KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today on a Monday morning version of the show in the week that we all look forward to around here in the Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania area. There's a meeting up there in Oakmont at the Riverside Landings held each and every third Thursday of the month. This particular week, our guest, and we always like to have the guest of that month on our show, is bringing a message of hope and really satisfy what is required in your own health situation with respect to the dastardly disease of cancer. She is the founder and president of BeatCancer.org, a not-for-profit organization she established after the tragic death of her own husband to cancer a number of years ago. She's sought after and an expert as an international lecturer on nutrition, cancer prevention, and the psychology of health and disease. Since 1977, she's personally counseled more than 25,000 cancer patients and provides continuing education for thousands of others. She is the author of numerous books, including Hungry for Health, Hungrier for Health, and Breast Cancer, Is It What You're Eating or What's Eating You? Anyway, she's a Phi Beta Kappa and Fulbright scholar. She's with us today. Her name is Dr. Susan Silberstein. We welcome her now. Good morning, Dr. Silberstein.
Good morning, Dr. Courtney. It is a pleasure to be with you.
The pleasure is all mine, young lady. Really looking forward to meeting you. Hopefully we'll be up there on Thursday night at the Freedom of Choice in Cancer Therapy Group. And I understand our good friend Dan Wagner had the opportunity to interview you on Friday. We're taking our shot at you today and hopefully be able to entice our listeners to come visit you. Your message is a powerful one, but everything has a beginning, everything has an epiphany, and I'd really like to spend some time allowing you to describe your journey, your epiphany. How is it that you charted a course that brings you to Pittsburgh on Thursday night? When did it all begin and how?
Well, it began quite a long time ago, back in 1976 when I was 2.
Yeah, when you were 2 years old.
Actually, no. But in 1976, my young husband, as you mentioned, was diagnosed with terminal cancer. It was a very rare cancer. There were no known treatment protocols. The prognosis was 12 months. And so while he was undergoing 7 neurosurgeries and probably the maximum chemo and radiation that his body could tolerate. I was in the medical libraries. I had been a researcher, and of course there was no internet in those days. So between the libraries and the telephone calls, I was researching doctors and clinics and therapies all over the world. And I actually uncovered very many promising resources, but unfortunately, my husband never got out of the hospital in time to try any of them. And so he died on schedule in February of 1977, destroyed not only by the cancer, but by the ravages of his treatments as well. He left me with 2 babies and a broken heart, but above all, a burning desire to make a difference. I wanted to help at least one family avoid the terrible tragedy that mine had to endure. You know, tragedy can make you bitter or can make you better. I wanted to make lemonade from all those lemons we were dealt. I was determined not to bury with him everything that I had learned. And so a few months later, in the fall of 1977, I established the nonprofit organization known as Center for Advancement in Cancer Education. Now we refer to it simply as beatcancer.org for our website. And I am happy to say that not only have I been able to help one family, but actually, our center has coached nearly 30,000 cancer patients. We've trained more than 60,000 prevention seekers and thousands of healthcare professionals. So we've really found the bless in the mess.
You know, I just couldn't help but pick up in this description. You said your husband was diagnosed with a terminal form of cancer and was given 12 months to live. And then you said he sort of died on cue, meaning almost to the 12th month. Did you ever think, as I hear this come up about the time limits, that that's a blessing or a scourge whenever doctors talk in that kind of language?
I think that language should be eliminated from their vocabulary. There was a little story about an alternative practitioner to whom a so-called terminal cancer patient was referred. And he went reluctantly, rather skeptical, but he figured, well, I'll give it a shot. And he walks in there to this alternative practitioner, and the first thing the guy says is, take off your shoes and socks. And he says, oh boy, this is going to be weird. And then he takes a look at the bottom of his feet, and he says, you know what? I don't see an expiration date.
Well said. It's interesting.
Yes, so patients will often follow their doctor's orders even to the point of dying on schedule.
And I just had to ask the question because it sort of hits me in the gut when I hear doctors talk that way, and evidently it's a blow to your gut also.
It is.
Back then it was
very
a death sentence.
refreshing to know that there are medically trained professionals like yourself who don't think that way.
Well, absolutely. And it looks as though you've been exposing or identifying or helping and assisting people who need the kind of service and education you provide for a long time now. You really were close to 2 years old back then. Babies are not. But a number of months and years have passed. Back then, when there was no internet and you were a researcher, you were able to identify a lot of resources that could have helped your husband. Were there many out there that you could identify?
They were hard to find, but yes, I began to find them, and these are resources or similar to resources that I make referrals to on a daily basis.
Now, the Center for the Advancement in the Cancer Education, which is your baby, you gave it a breath of life, and of course I like the little beatcancer.org moniker that it carries today. Exactly in what ways do you assist people who are involved in this terrible thing called cancer, whether they're patients or family or both? How is it that you can help and assist them?
We offer all kinds of help. I'd say the most important first thing that we do is offer hope and empowerment. You know, there are millions of people who are living with cancer. They're surviving, but they're not thriving. So what we do is provide resources and referrals. We provide personalized, holistic coaching. We do this nationwide by telephone and abroad to the English-speaking world. We do it all on a donation basis. We do not charge specific fees. The work that we offer is highly, highly individualized. We look at physical and financial and geographic and logistical limitations for each patient. We honor their belief systems. We help them make informed decisions. We are not a treatment center, just an educational center. And we help patients improve their nutritional and immunological status, manage treatment side effects, help them prevent recurrence, extend their survival, and especially improve quality of life.
Now, that's quite a mouthful there. And if you can come across with every one of those pledges, you are doing one heck of a job for the communities out there that you service. And it's not a community. It seems like the whole world is at your disposal. English speaking, I heard you say. That's quite a bit.
I mean, we do speak a few languages, but not well enough to do the kind of intense and careful job that we would like to do.
Now,
we do better in English.
I understand. Whenever someone calls you, now, are these people that embrace a conventional approach to their cancer? How would you say, and you've seen this whole thing, here's the question. You've watched since 1977 till now a public become educated in the foibles of conventional therapy, the hope and aspirations of newer alternative non-conventional therapies. How has that thing evolved over this time frame, and where do you see it now?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I would say about 85% of all people who are diagnosed with cancer are using at least one of the CAM therapies, the complementary and alternative medical approaches that you, of course, specialize in your practice, not only for cancer but for other patients as well. And that brings me to a thought. You know, if someone is diagnosed with a heart attack, you know what the doctors say? Well, you've got to change your diet, change your lifestyle, manage stress, work less, and all of this. But when a cancer patient is diagnosed, they forget to tell them that they have a lot of power. And so cancer patients, you know, years ago we called cancer the big C, right? We couldn't even say the word cancer. We called it the big C. I think big C should stand for other things. It should stand for comfort, choice, and control. And what I have seen is that patients diagnosed with cancer who go with the strictly conventional system, and I'm not telling patients what they should do. We never tell them what they should or should not do. But patients who go with the strictly conventional system typically lack comfort, choice, and control. So we do have patients like that. They're not even going to call us. Those who call us are already looking for a modicum of those three factors. So we have patients taking conventional therapy who want to minimize treatment side effects, have better quality of life, and extend longevity. Then we have patients who are not candidates for conventional therapy, have failed on conventional therapy, or want no parts of conventional therapy. And we work with those patients and find them resources and practitioners and clinics and programs and lifestyle guidance. And then we have people who are in remission. They've either had surgery or they've had surgery plus some other conventional intervention, and they are looking to prevent recurrence. So that's another whole population that we work with, and those are some of our favorite populations other than the I've never been diagnosed and I want to keep it that way population. And so, by the way, on Thursday night, I'm going to be speaking to all of these populations.
It's wonderful. I was looking at the website, because I have a tendency to do that when I know an up-and-coming guest is going to be speaking on a topic, and this quotation grabs me, and I think it's a great thing for our listeners to hear. You certainly have it displayed on the website pretty clearly. You say, or somebody has said, that 90% of all cancers can be eliminated. That's a great statement for people to hear. Could you expound on that? Because what a message that is.
Well, yes, and I mean, this information is not my idea. According to Dr. T. Colin Campbell of the China study, for example, he talks about all the stages of tumor growth: the initiation, the promotion stage, the progression stage. And he says promotion is reversible if you allow the cancer to be given in the, let me say it a different way, depending on whether the cancer growth has the right conditions in which to grow. And it's at that point where diet and lifestyle is so effective. Way back in the in the 1880s, there was a surgeon, I'm sure you know, Dr. Stephen Paget, and he published something called the seed and the soil hypothesis. He said that the likelihood of cancer to spread from its initial location, which is just an in situ, right? It depends on the environment. That was published in the Lancet, the British Medical Journal, the Lancet. It depends on the environment. So, and T. Colin Campbell is saying the same thing. Dr. Otto Warburg, back in the 1930s, and I'll be talking about this on Thursday night, he got actually a Nobel Prize for demonstrating that cancer cells and healthy cells don't thrive in the same environment. Dr. Sir, in a publication about 10 years ago, said that chemo prevention by phytochemicals that we find in our food is an inexpensive, applicable, acceptable, and accessible approach to cancer control and management. So there's a whole history of scientists and doctors who are talking about the biological terrain. And this is the area where we as coaches, as holistic doctors, as nonprofit educators, and as cancer consumers, and the cancer world consumers, medical consumers, we can make a huge difference in terms of biological terrain. The oncologists, we know what they're trying to do. They're trying to destroy cancer cells. And that is certainly a worthwhile thing to try to do, but that's very difficult to do, and sometimes it happens at the expense of the patient.
Yeah, funny how that may mess up the whole thing if the patient and all of his other cells die off as well as the cancer cells. And probably there's not one single listener in the sound of our voices right now that doesn't fear that the word chemotherapy sends a chill up everybody's spine, because we all know that except for very few cases how futile these chemotherapeutic approaches really are. And so
that is true.
It really is
true.
Now you say that you have the capability, or you'd like to spread the message that you can fight cancer with your fork. Nutrition evidently plays a prominent role as to whether you're going to get a cancer, and if you have one, how the course of that disease may progress. You want to take a moment or two and describe how you can fight it with your fork? Talking about the
Oh, yes. And by the way, this information is very exciting. It's very empowering. Diet is huge for prevention of recurrence, for support during treatment and after treatment. And actually, researchers have found more than a 20 times increased lifespan among cancer patients who have been supported by proper nutrition. And this is not just an isolated study or two. There are actually thousands of studies that have been published in hundreds of biomedical journals all around the world, documenting not just the role that diet plays in cancer prevention, but specifically in cancer survival. And these studies have been published in Annals of Oncology and the Lancet and the Journal of the American Medical Association, the New England Journal of Medicine, the Journal of the National Cancer Institute, and many, many other publications. So there's quite a lot of documentation. And if I may, I'd like to talk about some of the things I'm going to be covering on Thursday.
Oh, please, let our listeners know when they come to see you and hear you, what will you be telling them about? Oh, yeah, go right ahead.
Well, as I said, if you're worried about preventing cancer, if you've already had cancer and you want to prevent it from coming back, or if you're actively dealing with cancer now, this is a program you're not going to want to miss. I'm going to be talking about the absolute best foods and beverages for fighting cancer. I'm going to be discussing over a dozen advantages and specific mechanisms for using nutrition in a cancer treatment program. I'm going to be reviewing some of the highlights of the scientific research on diet and cancer survival, and most importantly, show people how to create an internal environment that is unfriendly to cancer growth. I'll be bringing lots of free literature. I'll be autographing some of my books, which I sell to support the charitable efforts of beatcancer.org. I do look forward to meeting people, to answering their questions, and to explaining how beatcancer.org can assist them in getting the help that they need.
Well, folks, she's got quite an agenda planned for you. Remember, Thursday night up at the Freedom of Choice and Cancer Therapy Group. That's in Oakmont. Got to cross the Holton Bridge, the majority of you, but it's wide open. We have that verified. No difficulties there. Riverside Landings is the name of the place. You turn right at Walgreens, go 2 stop signs further, and turn another right, and you are there. See you. 7 o'clock is when it begins. I know you usually accumulate yourself at about 6:30. Look forward to seeing you all out there. And Susan Silberstein will be coming to do everything she just said she's going to do, which is a pretty doggone tall order, Susan. But I know you're going to accomplish what you set out to do.
I hope I will.
Yeah.
I intend to.
I'm going to switch gear a bit. Working with patients, as I'm sure, or prospective patients or survivors is one thing. Working with the medical profession, which is, I know, something that your organization also does with continuing education programs. It's certainly, as a medical doctor myself, I'm very interested to hear how things are going out there, because this has really not been a area that the conventional community has embraced. Are they embracing it more? To what degree? A bunch of stuffy people, as far as I'm concerned, in the past, and not too interested in alternative approaches. Are they changing as best you can tell?
You know, the changes are happening, not fast enough for me, of course, probably not fast enough for you, and that's why you stepped in to fill part of that void. They are coming, but frankly, not fast enough, because, as I said, millions of cancer patients are surviving, but they are not thriving. And there are too many doctors, as you said, who are giving patients an expiration date. But, you know, I've written many, many blogs, and that's one of the things people can get access to from the beatcancer.org website. I've written a lot of articles. One of my favorites is about this whole idea of what it means to be a terminal cancer patient. And of course, patients figure that means they're incurable and nothing anyone does can make a difference. But I think it just means that the toolbox is empty for the doctor that makes that pronouncement. And if doctors would simply take a position of benign neglect and say, look, I don't have a resource for you, but that doesn't mean they're not out there. Go out and find everything you possibly can, because there are people who have been given up who have fully recovered. But we don't get that from a lot of patients, from a lot of doctors for a lot of patients. And one of the reasons is that conventional oncology is protocol driven, okay? And it is diagnosis driven. And doctors spend a lot of precious time, often wasting precious time, to confirm the exact diagnosis and identify the specific cell type and the cancer stage, and they can't help the patient until they get that information, because that's going to finally help them determine the appropriate treatment protocol. That may be valuable, but that information is not particularly important to us, and that's for three reasons. First of all, of course, we don't diagnose, prescribe, or treat. We just educate. Secondly, we and a lot of CAM doctors like yourself have a host-oriented rather than a tumor-oriented approach. And that means that we focus on the causes rather than symptoms, and we teach the clients how to repair their immunological, nutritional, and psychological status so that the body can fight cancer from within. A lot of physicians always get trained in both physiology and anatomy when they go to medical school. But when they get involved with cancer, they forget the physiology and they're much more interested in the anatomy. In other words, there's a lump, we can treat it, we can get rid of it. It doesn't much matter how the body's functioning. That's not really relevant after treatment, and it's not really relevant during treatment. Or it's a risk-benefit ratio that we'd rather not deal with. The third reason that we don't think all of this protocol work is so important is because we have a patient-driven approach. As I said, our coaching is highly individualized for each client. And by the way, as you probably know, the father of modern medicine, Sir William Osler, stated it's much more important to know the patient that has the disease than the disease that has the patient. So people ask me, well, you're not an oncologist. How come you're involved with cancer? And I say, no, I don't know anything about oncology, but I know everything about cancer patients.
Great answer.
I've learned that not only from the books and the conferences and the doctors that I've been exposed to over the years, but especially from these 25 or 30,000 cancer patients.
Now, you've taken the time to write a couple of books, and it looks as though it's in keeping with fighting the cancer with your fork, because they're cookbooks, they're recipe books called Hunger for Health and Hungrier for Health. Could you take a moment to talk about them?
Yes, Hungry for Health and Hungrier for Health are recipe books, but Hungry for Health has 4 fundamental principles of healthy eating in its introduction. Hungrier for Health has 4 advanced principles of healthy eating. Hungry for Health is heavily plant-based, but not totally vegetarian. Hungrier for Health is totally vegan. They are both gluten-free. These books, I have 3 principles by which I created these recipes. First of all, they have to be really, really healthy. Second of all, they have to be really easy to prepare with quite easy to find ingredients. And third of all, they have to taste great, because the best diet is the one that people are willing to stick with. If they don't taste good, they're not going to stick with it. So I'm very proud of these books, because on Thursday night I'm going to be talking about the theory of healthy eating. And by the way, if for some reason your listeners cannot get there, or they want to share this information with someone who cannot get to that lecture, I have a book called Kitchen Chemotherapy, which is essentially what I'm going to be covering on Thursday night. And I also have it in DVD form, Fight Cancer with Your Fork. I have a new book coming out called the Beat Cancer Diet, the alphabetical Beat Cancer Diet book, and that's got hundreds and hundreds of foods that have been scientifically proven with their phytonutrients to fight cancer via all these different mechanisms that I'm going to be talking about. You mentioned my breast cancer book, Is It What You're Eating or What's Eating You? I have 3 Beat Cancer kits, the Beat Cancer Diet Kit, the Beat Cancer Toolkit, and the Beat Breast Cancer Kit. These are multimedia kits that contain composites of lots of educational materials, specifically that people can give as a gift. And I do want to talk about my holistic online cancer educator certification course too, if we have a few minutes.
Oh, we absolutely will. Let's do this. Let's take a short break. When we come back, I'll let you take to the airways and talk about websites and phone numbers and this thing that you just mentioned a second ago. And then I'm going to switch gears a little bit. We've come to understand that the issue of emotion plays quite a role in cancer. Love to hear your insights on it. It's simply a fascinating component that many have missed before, and I'd like to see how you weigh in on it now. Fair enough?
Sure.
All right, folks, here was Susan Silberstein. She's in preparation on her way to Pittsburgh. She's in Philadelphia right now, or near to it, and she'll be spending a time up there at the Freedom of Choice and Cancer Therapy Group on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. We've got her today to try to give you an idea of what to expect, and I guess you're getting the impression that I am. What a night it's going to be. Be right back in a moment with Dr. Silberstein. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health. Heard here on KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today on a Monday morning version of the show. In the week that we have our Freedom of Choice and Cancer Therapy session out there in Oakmont, 7 o'clock on Thursday night at Riverside Landings. In keeping with our pledge of many, many years now, we really enjoy bringing this month's guest to you to have an opportunity to allow the individual to share the spotlight a bit, to describe to you why you should be coming out on Thursday night. And our guest today has certainly laid the groundwork for, I believe, to be a very interesting evening, and hope to see you there. We're talking now today with Dr. Susan Silberstein, who has been well invested in this cancer debacle and the resurrection of how to approach cancer over a many-year period. She shared with us quite a bit about how she intends to conduct herself on Thursday night. We'll welcome her in the gun lap portion of our show today. If you want to call in to ask a question or make a comment to Dr. Silberstein, the number to do that is 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. Dr. Silberstein, are you there, my dear?
I am indeed.
Take a moment, if you would. There's some people that probably would like to come and can't. How can those listening with us right now find out more about your organization and the things you can offer if, in fact, they won't be able to be there on Thursday night?
Okay, well, please visit our website, beatcancer.org. We have an extensive e-store that includes a number of the materials that we feel are so valuable, like kitchen chemotherapy and Fight Cancer with Your Fork, which are the materials that specifically reflect what I'm going to be talking about on Thursday evening, as well as my recipe books and lots of other materials. Sign up for our e-newsletter, get educational updates, check out our blog. There's so much great information on the website. And also, if you have some cancer concerns and you would like some coaching, call our center toll free at 888-551-2223. Set up a telephone appointment. We work with people all over the country by phone. And become a member of our organization. That's going to help you get all the information you need, lots of free information, unlimited consultations, and of course help spread the word through social media so you can help us continue this mission that we've been on for the last 37 years. If you have questions, you can email info@beatcancer.org.
Perfect. Now, we do have a caller. You don't mind taking questions, do you?
Not at all.
Come on in the store. You're with Dr. Silberstein. Go right ahead.
Yes, good morning, everybody.
Yes.
Just wanted your phone number, that was all.
Oh, okay, then just to repeat it, 888-551-2223. You have it, ma'am?
Yes, thank you so much.
Write it down. Try to make it on Thursday. If not, you've got the number. There you go. We got another knock on the door. Why don't you come on in the store? You're with Dr. Susan Silberstein. Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Hi, Dr. Courtney.
Hi.
I had a question for Dr. Silberstein. I wanted to know, since she's been involved with this cancer thing over like 30, 40 years.
Yeah, long time.
Does she find the relationship between, as you know, the last 20 years, when a child grows up, it's the most vaccines in a person at once in their lifetime as ever before in history. Wanted to know if she's found a relationship between vaccination in a person and cancer, and also the relationship between how does a child at 3 or 4 years of age get cancer.
There you go. What about the vaccine relationship? You've done a lot of research. Anything that you've come across point you toward or away from vaccines as a cause of cancer?
I would say there isn't too much that has been specifically proven. However, because we have a host-oriented approach, and because we subscribe to the immunosurveillance theory of cancer, any toxin, whether it be a vaccine toxin, whether it be a dental toxin, right? Whether it be some other kind of environmental toxin, or whether it be a dietary toxin, any toxin is going to put a burden on the immune system. And if that immune system possibly is already compromised, there's no question in my mind that cancer could be one of the severe sequelae of that exposure. So, yes, that could be of great concern. The other piece of the puzzle is how does a newborn end up with cancer? How does a young baby have cancer? And typically, it used to be that cancer is a disease of old age. When I got started 37 years ago, people were getting cancer in their 60s and 70s, and not very many were getting it as newborns or as young children. And now we find that the diseases of old age are now hitting teenagers. So I think that we have a increasingly immunologically suppressed population, and that is due not only to all the exposures and the poor quality diet that I mentioned, but it is also due to the fact that we are breeding increasingly immune weakened generations.
Yeah.
There was if there's a pesticide exposure, that young babies' nerve systems are growing very quickly, and they're very sensitive to these exposures. And so, but even the mothers may have compromised immune systems. And this is not about blame. It's not about guilt. Please don't feel that way. But sometimes we have to work really, really hard to compensate for vaccine exposures or other toxic exposures. And if we haven't been taught by our pediatricians, and by the way, I do have a little booklet called Garbage In, Garbage Out, the health consequences of what we feed our children. But if we haven't been taught by our pediatricians to really compensate for that, then our kids have an increased risk of diseases, including cancer. When my husband died, I found out that both of my children were were conceived when he already had cancer. I didn't realize it at the time, but after he died, I began realizing that, oh my goodness, they were 17 months and 3 months old when he died. And so they were actually both conceived when he had cancer. And that caused me to panic, as you can well imagine, because I thought, these children are behind the immune 8-ball right out of the gate. And my pediatrician didn't know that, but I had done so much research over the last year that I realized it. And so I worked so hard to change that internal environment that I thought would lead them, not because cancer is hereditary, but because poor immune systems are. And so that's what I set out as my mission. And my two kids, now they have babies of their own, they will tell you that I raised them on the weirdest diet that any of their peers ever heard of. But it made a difference.
It did make a difference. By the way, just for the heck of it, how did you come down at that particular point on the vaccines with children who you felt had compromised immune systems? Did you go ahead and vaccinate? Was it a personal choice?
Are you asking me or your?
Yeah, I'm asking you. Mm-hmm.
In those days, things were not as intense as they are today. Mm-hmm. I did before I really understood, but I always antidoted those vaccines with megadoses of vitamin C and homeopathics. I knew that much. I didn't get into the political arena of actually going down that path of trying to avoid vaccines, and I did not know. I didn't know any doctors at the time that could guide me with that. But I knew enough to work hard to counterbalance those negative side effects, some of which are very long term.
It was 1977. Not much on the radar screen that later was to clutter that screen, and different times required different interventions. And it looks like intuitively you knew that it needed something, but intuition now has moved into almost a compelling. You got to really think about that issue long and hard before, as a parent, you make the call to or not to. And of course, as you and I both know, we never tell somebody what to do. We just make sure they get the information to make the call. And let's go with that.
Exactly right. Informed choices.
All right. we are just coming up with a few minutes remaining, and rather than moving into a new area, I'll hold that off for Thursday night. Let you take to the floor and just let us know why we should be coming out to see you on Thursday. I know why I'm going to be there. It seems like your resources are so well honed that I want to leave with as much in the way of takeout as I do on the way in. So tell our listeners, okay, why they're going to be up there on Thursday night, and then we'll let it go with that.
Okay, and by the way, I do want to let people know about that holistic cancer educator online on-demand course. It's not only for doctors, it's also for laypersons with a background in health and nutrition and caregiving and ministry. So check that out at our website. I'll be giving out some information about that on Thursday, too. So again, for prevention of recurrence, for support during treatment, after treatment, this is an event you're not going to want to miss, and I'm going to be covering some of the new and exciting information, some of the latest, most fascinating findings. I know a lot of the listeners do know something about nutrition. Typically, it's what you have to leave out of your diet. I'm going to talk about what you must include and why you must include it and how it's going to make a difference in your ability to fight cancer and stay healthy.
All right, Susan. Looking forward to meeting you, folks. Thursday night, 7 o'clock, Freedom of Choice Group, Riverside Landings in Oakmont. We'll see you there. Thank you, Susan. I look forward to meeting you back at that time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Courtney.
My pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. There you have it, folks. And the bongos in the background signaling our time out of here, saying so long, and hope to see you on Wednesday. We'll have Mark Cohen here. He's the Medicare concierge. I just love that word, concierge. And then on Thursday night, up at the Freedom of Choice Group. Until then, this is Dr. Dennis Courtney with Dr. Susan Silberstein saying so long for AM Impact on Your Health.